Welcome back, guys and girls, and welcome to my second ever video I've made on arm wrestling. And this one is going to be on King of the Table 2, which, as you can see, happened on December the 11th, so last Saturday, live in Dubai at the Millennium Place, Barsha Heights in Dubai at United Arab Emirates. And this was the second comp that being hosted through Core Sports Wales, obviously in association with Larry Wheels for his PR brand, and also Boohoo Man. So the undercard, we had Larry Wheels going up against the American Brandon Allen, also a powerlifter just like Larry Wheels. Then we had the Italian stallion Ermes Gasparini. Obviously he was against Genadi Kvikvinia. I believe I pronounced it wrong, so I do apologise. Bill Collins was obviously refereeing. We had Monster Michael Todd, as a guest commentator on it, with Neil Pickup, obviously one of the best British arm wrestlers of all time, and also probably more known, and is better known for commentating on all the Giants Live Strongman competitions, so you probably recognise his voice from that, guys and girls. But yeah, the guy himself knows his stuff. So the main card, as we all know, was with the Canadian Devon Larratt, and obviously considered the best heavyweight of all time within the sport. But then he was also going against another legend, John Brzenk, the American, who again is regarded as one of the best of all time, and in the Guinness record as the best arm wrestler of all time, and probably, you know, the grandfather of the sport. You know, even Devon credited him at the end of the event. So at 57, obviously, John's getting on a little bit, but he decided to come out of retirement, come back to sport, and, you know, he's looking in pretty good shape for his age, to be fair, which is pretty, you know, admirable. He was very grateful and humble the fact that he was even considered and invited by Core Sports World and the other sponsors to get involved. But, you know, just because he's older doesn't mean he doesn't stand a chance, provided obviously no major injuries. So here are the stats here you can see. Devon was weighing, you know, he was weighing a lot. He was very, very heavy, like just under 130 kilos, so crazy weight. There's John. You can see stats there as well. So obviously interesting matchup between the two. I would have preferred to seen John at least 10 years younger, because I think, you know, I read a lot of comments online on social media, and a lot of people saying they don't think Devon, you know, it was an easy win for him because he's got youth on his side, and obviously John has been in retirement and has fought for a long time, so he's obviously got a massive advantage over him, and it was an easy win, and they want to see him fight someone, well, not fight, sorry, compete with someone at the top of the game, just like he is right now, i.e. Levan, and we'll get to him at the end of the video. But nonetheless, we're going to kick off round by round. I'm going to give my short recap on each one, and we will discuss at the end of the video what your thoughts are on this head-to-head and the other undercards as well. And just before I get into it, I quickly forgot to mention that this was a rematch, and the last time these two met was in 2015 when John actually beat Devon in the World Arm Wrestling League and become obviously the right-handed champion in the heavyweight division. So obviously, naturally, Devon had a lot to prove here. Before round one even got underway, there was quite a lot of disagreement and arguing with the ref, as you can see here, between Devon, John, and obviously Bill, about the setup where the elbows are placed, how high and whatnot, an unfair advantage. And the guys were arguing for a good, 5 minutes or so. So it's pretty hilarious. But yeah, so on the first round, as you can see, John actually kicks off really well, really starts really strong. And to me, looks like, Devon's actually struggling a little bit, because it's not like he's just dominating him like he did with Michael in the King of the Table 1 back in May. However, what does become apparent is that John doesn't have that endurance, and Devon just takes him out like nothing. John's obviously old school. He goes back quite a lot backstage to ice up and do different certain things to cool off in between, whereas Devon just kept saying to him, hurry up, John, what are you doing? Stop stalling, you're wasting my time. You're being boring, just hurry up. Which to me seemed quite disrespectful, but obviously, as we know in all sports, in particular this one and the likes of Devon, there's a lot of mind games and a lot of tactics used to kind of like affect the opponent's, mental state and their focus and whatnot, and perhaps that was the case. Obviously, he was there to win. He didn't want to lose in the day, despite the respect he has for John. John did manage to take the hand and wrist very well in round one, but as you see from round on round, Larratt was just in so much control. He was able to stop the drive every time, make the necessary tactical adjustments, and just basically breeze it, which led obviously to, a great win overall with, 4-0. So he's obviously taken that right hand heavyweight title as a result. Each round, as you can see, there's not really much going on. It's very quick. You know, at this point, John was out of it, and I think Devon was pretty confident and knew it wasn't going to go to 6 rounds. Obviously, the other two opponents you'll see coming up, the other guys who are wrestling, they do the full 6 rounds. But obviously, for these chaps, they decide not to do it. You know, John accepts it. You know, 4-0 down. I'm not gonna bother wasting my time or energy. You know, naturally, he doesn't want to injure himself either, because you know he's been out of the game for a while. He's older. He's got to be tactical. He's got to be cautious. So fair play to him. You know, but you know, I've got massive respect for him, because look at Devon. The guy's huge. He's strong, dominant, and you know, just something else. He's a specimen in terms of this sport. So, you know, I respect John for going up against him. I do think he's got a lot more to offer. He just needs to get back to his regular training, and we can see what's to come and what's in store for him if he doesn't decide to retire. This was just a one-off, but we will see. John did say in his post-fight interview that he does have some other competitions coming up, I believe in Russia, I think he mentioned. So we will see. I really hope he does come back, and he said once he loses some extra weight, that will happen. So leave your comments in the section below. Let me know what you think about the first main card fight. So next up, we had Ermes and Genadi. And supposedly, from what I watched from Larry Wills from a video back in March, he's managed to pin Levan a few times. So this guy, obviously, he's got some serious packing power, you know, like if he's been able to do that, from what I gather, it was at a comp in Istanbul some time ago. Incredible, you know, because Levan has become seen as the Hulk of the sport and, you know, untouchable. And obviously what we're going to get onto at the end of the video with Devon as the new matchup coming up later next year. So obviously Gasparini, personally, I hadn't actually heard of him before, but had done some research into him up just before the fight, and you know, he's got some good stats. And considering he's not as big as Genadi, he's super powerful. You know, his speed and power and overall strength. I mean, you can tell he's obviously young, and you know, he's eager. He did make a few mistakes here and there within the actual rounds. These two did go to all 6 rounds in the end, so they were the first to do that. But you can just see he's super aggressive, super fast off the mark, just absolutely no rest whatsoever, you know, not really giving Genadi a chance. He just went for it full throttle. And I'll be honest, this is the first time I've seen him arm wrestle. I thought, oh, this guy's gonna gas, he's gonna hurt himself, or he's gonna you know, run out of endurance, because to me, when I was watching him, it kind of reminded me of Larry Wills in, you know, King of the Table 1, when he was up against School Boy, where he just tried to overwhelm School Boy with overall power and strength and just burnt out too quickly, you know, showing lack of experience and just basically wanting to try and be more alpha in that aspect. But it was quite clear to see that his technique was very impressive and very, you know, reliable. It obviously clearly worked, and as a result, he managed to get a 4-2 victory over Genadi. And I'll be honest, he could have probably got all 6, but he did actually twinge his arm. I think it was his inner forearm that he was rubbing and whatnot, a little bit concerned about on the, I think it was 4th to 5th round when we watched it. And you know, it looked like he was probably going to bail out at that point. He didn't actually need to continue. He'd already won 4 straight sets. So, you know, what was the point? But I think he just wanted, you know, to do it. Genadi did actually dispute one of the rounds as you know, a foul, you know, with the elbow. It didn't count, so the ref A-okayed that. So I think that's obviously why they went again. But irregardless of that, you know, there was a few fouls from them, and you know, issues here and there along the way. As you can see, the overwhelming dominance was there from Gasparini. And from what I heard from Michael Todd, he did actually say that Genadi's been out for about 5 or so months. That could have been a factor, but who knows? I believe Gasparini actually has had a comp not so long ago himself, so he was obviously a little bit probably tired and fatigued from that, but not obviously too much, because he didn't actually throw in the towel and end the actual competition against Genadi. Because even despite when we saw later on with that little injury, that little twinge he had, you know, Michael and Neil commentators saying, yeah, he's probably gonna bail out, or but he didn't. And then when he continued, they said, well, he's obviously hurt, but not that hurt, because obviously he wouldn't be going for it again. He did obviously lose the last two rounds against Genadi, but like I mentioned, it didn't matter. And just looking at this, he definitely looks like the better arm wrestler. And it's really surprising because Genadi, if you do some research on him, he's really good. And this guy's big. I know size is not everything in this sport. There's a lot more to it than that. I'm still obviously investing a lot of time into understanding all aspects of it, and I hold my hands up. I'm not a complete expert on arm wrestling, but I am very interested in it. I do like it, and I admire the athletes and the up and coming athletes and how the sport is progressing. And I think Larry Wheels is doing a great job with Core Sports World to promote it and push it, because these guys deserve more of a platform, and they deserve to get exposure and more money and more sponsorship and more development, because it's a very impressive sport. These guys are athletes, and people just think you can just go on a table and beat someone just by pure brute strength. That is not the case. There is a lot more to it than that. As you can see, all the athletes had the wraps on. They did try in various times to use it without the wraps, but every time they did, they just slipped. And that was the case for these two quite often. There was quite a few slips without the wraps. So every time Bill just put the wraps on, he said, look, let's not even bother with no wraps and just go with them, because there's no risk there. But that did cause problems with Devon and John. If you actually watch the full rounds, which you can find anywhere on YouTube, by the way, there's not been any blocking on that. I know it's a pay-per-view event, but they seem to be okay with people uploading the full rounds. Obviously, I've only taken snippets here of the key parts, because there was a lot of wasted time in between, as you know, setup and putting the wraps on and having a little break and whatnot. So I've shown you just the key parts here where things actually happen, the actual action. This is the longest one of them all, I will say. There was this dragged out, this one. It wasn't obviously boring, a lot more entertaining, but definitely the much longer round, the much longer head-to-head opposed to the other two that were going on with Larry and Devon. But, overall, I would say, I think on the night, Gasparini was the better athlete. He definitely surprised a few people, I think. He definitely surprised me. When I was just doing my research on the pair of them prior, I was thinking, Genadi, he's probably got this, just looking at his stats and his experience and his overall size. But, this power and control and pure speed and agility, there's so much. I mean, if Larry Wheels can apply the same sort of technical prowess that Gasparini displayed here, and that power with his strength, he could potentially be very dominant heavyweight in the future, and I hope that might be the case. But great head-to-head, loved it, and let me know in the comment section below what you thought about this one, guys and girls. So last but not least, Larry Wheels and Brandon Allen, two very accomplished powerlifters and very strong men, equally, a lot of size between them, and just a funny little thing here in the face-off, some nice little kiss. But so obviously from this one, Larry naturally had a lot to prove. He was very quiet, didn't really make any statement at all after King of the Table 1, where he was completely destroyed by Schoolboy. He was definitely knocked back by that. He is humble in the fact that he knows that he can't just dominate in all sports. He may be the strongest bodybuilder in the world, and he's got records in powerlifting and whatnot. He's done bits and bobs, but you can't always be great at something straight away, despite your physical capabilities. I know this personally. You have to apply it. There's skill, time needed to improve, and sometimes you may think you've got all the minerals there, but you'll never quite be good enough against someone else who's just naturally better. But irregardless of that, Larry actually started off really, really well. I was super impressed, and I think a lot of other people were. He actually managed to gain an early 2-0 lead on Brandon, and Brandon, commented saying, this guy is definitely a lot stronger than me. I can feel that force, and I can feel that power and strength. However, Allen was able to bounce back and take it back to the pin very comfortably. Once he kind of got a feel for things with Larry, he kind of just got very comfortable and eased into it. It looked like a nice little thing for him. Brandon, a very different technique, as you can see. Obviously Larry here's going for trying to get that shoulder drive down pin, but Brandon, sitting back into it and holding Larry well. Obviously, as we saw it does end in a 4-2 straight for Brandon. So like I mentioned, these two do go all 6 rounds as well. And, you know, that was going to happen. I think Larry, even if he was 4-0 down, hadn't started with 2-0 up, he still would have gone all 6 out of pride. The guy wants to improve, he wants the experience, and he's got a lot of, you know, not I wouldn't say an ego, but, you know, he's put a lot of money up for this. He's putting his name out there, his face, his reputation. He doesn't want his fans and supporters to think, you know, like he's beta, basically. You know, he's not getting any better. He definitely has improved, you know, let's face it. However, Brandon is new to the sport as well. So, you know, I will say it's not like Larry was going against someone like School Boy again, or perhaps Gasparini or Genadi, which would have been a lot more of a challenge because these two are proper arm wrestlers, or even someone like Devon. So he's got a long way to go still, you know, a lot of improvements to still you know, work upon, but he definitely has improved. You know, I can see that, I'm pretty sure everyone else can see that, and I think he knows that as well. The good thing about him is that he just wants to get better, and, you know, that hunger and that ability to be self-aware and not get too upset and taken back by it, out of disappointment and failure, is what will hopefully lead him to doing a lot better as time goes on, and perhaps in the next King of the Table win his next competition. But massive props to Brandon, obviously, because, you know, to go up against someone like Larry, who's got such power and strength and you know, determination, and just, you know, comfortably beat him, it shows that Brandon's a very good arm wrestler, and he's someone who definitely is going to be making a name for himself in the sport, provided he doesn't get injured just like anyone else in the sport. I really hope that's not the case. It was good to see, but you can see Larry here is now getting quite, I'd say, pissed off, because he's like, oh crap, I've lost here. But he still keeps going, and, you know, no issues, no injuries, no anger, no love lost. He gets on with it, goes all 6 rounds, so fair play to him. But you can just see that Brandon, you know, he knows what he's doing. He knows the opponent. He knows how to beat him at this point. So great match. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought of this one, as well as all the others. I'd say, obviously, I preferred the main card. It was the best. And then probably Gasparini second. So after Devon's victory, he actually calls out Levan. And as a result, the guys at Core Sports Worlds have announced 3 up-and-coming dates next year from June to September. And at the end of the video, you're going to see the signing of Levan. He's actually accepted. It's been organised. It's going to be going down on the 4th of June. So we're going to see these 2 giants. Bear in mind, Levan is 170 kilos, so he's got still, you know, 41 kilos on Devon. It's going to be a pretty interesting arm wrestling competition, and I can't wait to see it, as I'm sure you guys can't as well. So leave your comments in the section below on that one. What do you think is going to happen? Who else is going to be also competing on those up and coming King of the Tables? As we know, we've got Devon and Levan. Is John going to come back? Obviously, Larry's going to be there. He has to be. I'd be surprised if he's not, unless he's got an injury. So let me know what you think. I think personally, Devon, I don't think he can bulk up much more. He could obviously, but I don't think he wants to be fat. So if he wants to be lean, it's not really going to happen. So that's going to be an interesting one, because Levan is the Georgian Hulk, as his nickname, and he's an absolute unit. So guys, hope you liked today's video. If you did, please, as always, leave a like, comment and subscribe. There's going to be more coming videos in the new year, so stay tuned. I'll leave you with Levan.
Devon, it's time. Try to get bigger, but it is not gonna help you, buddy.